Storytime about how I flew 8 hours away to meet a famous guy who eventually ghosted me. I might give you a clue about who this person is in part 3. Disclaimer is not my story time, send me on Instagram. Back in 2020, when all our lives were falling apart, I was really bored. So I decided to get on Instagram and DM some of my celebrity crushes and celebrity influencers / YouTubers, Instagrammers, whatever you want to call them. I never ever expected to get a response. But in fact, I got a couple of responses. One of them being my biggest celebrity crushes. Fortunately, all he wanted was to, do the dirty. And he asked me out right away, but I wasn't comfortable, so I said no. Because I said no, he decided to ghost me too. But then a couple of weeks later, I got a response from one of the influencers. And right away, he asked me out too. He said he wanted to go out for lunch or dinner. But here's the thing, I live on the East Coast, he lives on the West Coast. When I told him this, he actually offered to buy me a ticket to fly out the very next day. I made up an excuse as to why I couldn't go. I told him that I had to work. And he told me that he would pay me to go over there so that I wouldn't lose out on my money. I thought about it for 2 days and I eventually said yes. Am I dumb? Absolutely. Part 2 is up. Storytime about how I flew 8 hours to meet a famous guy who eventually ghosted me. I will give you a clue of who it is in part 3. Disclaimers not my storytime, was letting me on Instagram. He offered to give me the money that I would have made at work and fly me out there. Thought about it and I said yes. By the way, I'm 24 years old. I didn't even tell my parents that I was gonna do this. Made up this whole story about how I won a giveaway and I was needing to fly out the very next day. But here's the thing. The influencer asked me if I could put the flight on my credit card. That once I arrived to LA, he would give me the cash in person. God, how could I be so stupid? I packed my bags and chose my best outfits. Even went to the salon and got my hair done and refreshed my eyelash extensions. So I spent like $400 that day to get ready to go. And I called my job and told them that I was sick and that I wouldn't be able to go to work for a week. And the very next morning I got on the flight, which happened to be delayed. So my whole travel time was about 9 hours. We did exchange numbers, so I texted him when I landed. He messages me back saying, "Awesome, let me know when you're in the Uber," which he had told me that he was gonna go pick me up. Gave me an address which I assumed was his house. But when I showed up, it was a party, like an influencer party, and he wasn't there. Part 3 is up. Storytime about how I flew 8 hours to meet a famous guy who ended up ghosting me. I'm giving you guys a clue at the end. Disclaimer is not my story time, send me on Instagram. When I finally got to the address that he had sent me, I realized he wasn't there. It was an influencer party. Like influencers that I knew and I followed on Instagram. So I started going up to people and asking them if they had seen him. Finally, one person told me that they had seen him leave with another girl. Another girl! I was crushed. I went to the bathroom and cried for about 20 minutes. I composed myself and I called him and he didn't answer. I texted him and he didn't answer. Instead, I went to a fancy restaurant in Beverly Hills and I stayed at a nice hotel. I figured I might as well have a good time if I was there. Guess what though? He called me at 3 in the morning when I was asleep. Called him the next morning and he didn't answer. Here's your clue. He has a YouTube channel and used to have long hair. This man proceeded to ghost me for a full week. When I got back home, I sent him a message saying how disappointed I was. That's when he FaceTimes me and asked me to come back to LA. I asked him for the money for the ticket and he said he couldn't give it to me until he saw me in person. What should I do? Just found out my husband showed his coworkers and his friends naughty pictures of me. Should I leave him? Disclaimers is not my story time, send me on Instagram. My husband and I have only been married a few months. Before that, we dated for 2 years. My husband works in a really remote area, so he's not with me most of the time. After we got married, we bought a house near my parents' house since he would be away for most of the time, and that way I could spend time with my family. There are a few things about my husband that really bother me, but for the most part, he is pretty good. He supports me financially while I'm in school to pursue my career. I just got an internship for a magazine, which has been my dream job. My husband and I started dating everything went really fast. He's really passionate. After a year of dating, he proposed and of course I said yes. We have a great love life. I mean, great. We have a lot of chemistry together and we're super attracted to each other. And one thing about my husband is he loves to show me off. He's like the opposite of a jealous husband. He loves when I wear cute revealing clothes, which is not a bad thing by the way. And whenever somebody hits on me, he loves it. He's proud to be my husband and I'm proud to be his wife. But sometimes I feel like he's showing me off a little bit too much. Since he's away for work, he always asks me to send him, naughty pictures. Come to find out he shows his coworkers. Part 2 is up. Husband showed his friends and coworkers my naughty pictures. Should I leave him? Disclaimers is not my story time, send me on Instagram. Here's how I found out he did it. Every single day, multiple times a day, he would ask me to send him naughty pictures. It actually became like a routine for me. I would even order cute lingerie on a weekly basis for this. One day, my husband sent me a message that was clearly for one of his friends. In the message, he said, "Check out this picture my wife just sent me." And then he proceeded to attach the picture I had just sent him. For the first 5 seconds, I thought he was joking. You see, I would never have expected him to do that. But after about 30 seconds, I came to. Realized he had sent it to me by mistake. I called him and he instantly turned off his phone. I called him about 10 more times, but it all went to voicemail. Finally, 3 hours later, he sends me a text message apologizing. He said that he had never showed his friends the pictures and that he promises to never do it again. And that this time the picture was too good to not share. And it gets worse. He told me his coworkers are always drooling over my Instagram pictures. So he just felt like sharing. He sent a whole other message talking about how sexy and beautiful I am. And guess what? He asked for another freaking picture. Part 3 is up. Husband showed his friends and coworkers naughty pictures of me. Should I leave him? Disclaimer, this is not my story time. Send me on Instagram. After he apologized, he basically asked me for more pictures. So I decided to ghost him for a week. After a week, he shows up to our house. When I opened the door, he started begging for forgiveness. He told me that he couldn't live without me, that he thought I was so beautiful, he just wanted to share my pictures. I explained to him that what he did was a total violation of my trust and of my body. Thought of his coworkers and friends being able to see those pictures literally nauseated me. And of course, I was totally ashamed that my family and friends would find out. I mean, what if one of his friends told his wife and then she told me something? He told me he'd never do it again and I accepted his apology. After that, we did the dirty and it was amazing. He had to go to work the very next day. And a few days later, he started asking me for more pictures. I have to trust the fact that he said he would never show those pictures to anybody again. So I started sending him pictures again. Only now it just doesn't feel the same. Before it was fun and I wanted to send him the pictures. Now I do it praying that he won't show it to anybody else. I've also come to realize that my husband knows how to manipulate me really well. Our sexy times are so good that he just gets me to do whatever he wants. Like taking those pictures. I really don't know if I should trust him, but at the same time, he's my husband. I feel like you guys will have good advice. What should I do? My husband making out with another man on our honeymoon and I'm refusing to give him a divorce. My husband and I met on a blind date. Our friends had set us up and they made him sound like a Greek god. And he kind of is. He's super tall, attractive, Greek, tan. His dream is to become a politician and he owns several businesses. I own my own marketing agency and we're both addicted to work. We're literal workaholics. When we went on our first date, I was so surprised to see how much we had in common. Both super work driven. We also found a lot of the same things funny. This was such a relief to me because I'd never been on a blind date before. And we talked about a lot of stuff, including our sexy preferences. He told me he only liked women and I was like, okay, cool. And I told him, of course, I only liked men. We actually ended up going on a total of 15 dates before he asked me to be his girlfriend. Everything just felt so amazing and right. We had amazing chemistry, he made me laugh, and we had a lot of fun in the bedroom. After a few months, he asked me to be his wife and I was so happy I said yes. He hired the best wedding planner in our city and we got to planning. We were both really involved in everything. The wedding was spectacular. We got married in the winter, so it was snowing outside. It was beautiful. We had an orchestra, amazing catering, so I was really happy. The day after that, we went on our honeymoon. Planned to go to several Greek islands. Our first stop was Santorini. I actually got in really good shape for the honeymoon. I had abs. I wanted to look as sexy as I could for him. A few days into our stay, we found this really cute cafe, and the server at the cafe was actually really handsome. Him and my husband got along really well. So well that I caught them making out at our hotel. Part 2 is up. My husband kissing another man on our honeymoon and I'm refusing to give him a divorce. As I walked into the hotel, I could see 2 men kissing in a corner. Obviously, I didn't know it was my hubby, so I turned away. I went straight up to our bedroom and I couldn't find him. I called his cell phone, but there was no answer, so I went right back down to the lobby. And this is when I look again at the 2 guys kissing in the corner. I could only see one of the guys' backs, and obviously I didn't recognize it as my husband. Not until I see my husband's hand creeping up on the back of this guy's neck. And immediately I recognize his hand and the ring. I thought it was a joke at first, until I could see they were passionately making out. I yelled my husband's name and they both turned to look at me. That's when I saw it was the server from the damn cafe that my husband and I had been going to almost every single morning. The same guy my husband was talking to almost every single day. The server ran out of the hotel. He obviously was not looking to confront me. That's when my husband grabs my arm and takes me to the pool area. That's when he confessed that he thought he was bi and that he was just experimenting. And he also said that the server basically forced him to kiss him. I told him he should have been honest with me from the beginning about being attracted to guys, and that the least he could have done was not make out with this guy in the hotel of our lobby. He started to apologize, but I couldn't even talk to him. I still wanted to enjoy the trip, so I got my own hotel room. That very same night, my husband tells me that we should consider a divorce, and that he thinks he might have really serious feelings for the server. I said no. I would be so embarrassed if I go home right now and tell my entire family and friends that my husband left me for another man. Not to mention the fact that he totally wasted my time. I asked him if we could just work this out, and he's asking for an open relationship now. And of course, I'm totally in love with him. We just got married. I'm just so confused. What should I do?